Hey, folks on the internet. I hope you're all having a wonderful day and welcome to Spooky Saturday, a just chatting installment where I share scary stories and awesome conversations with my friends on Twitch. Whether you're here with us live or you're enjoying the VOD on Twitch or on YouTube at your leisure, I'm super excited you're here. Today, we're actually joined by Lord Shadow 27. Uh, if you're not already following him, here or on YouTube, you should absolutely do that. But Shadow, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Bunny. How are you?
Oh, bright eyed and bushy tailed. I haven't had my first coffee yet, so I'm totally a real person right now.
I am currently enjoying my first coffee.
I'm jealous. So I know you create content on Twitch and on YouTube. What sort of stuff do you do?
Well, I mostly do RPG related things. Right now, we are playing through Triangle Strategy as our main game. And the bigger projects we have going on is every other Wednesday, I do live Dungeons and Dragons sessions, which I then upload to YouTube. I am the DM, doing a bunch of homebrew stuff, having a blast with it. And my big project that is strictly YouTube, as you know, it's yourself, Zombified Potato, and Tigress. We all play Gloomhaven as the Gloom Crew,
That's
and that
right.
has been an absolute blast. Having a lot of fun with that.
Oh man, I'm trying to be like a super cool person and get stuff in the chat, but Zombie's also doing it, so we shouted you out twice. And we both hit the Gloom Crew thing. That's funny. Yeah, those of you in chat, I actually have it's a exclamation gloom brings you the link to Gloom Crew. You're just trying to be a good mod. I appreciate that, Potato. I really do. Oh man, so I've actually known you, Shadow, for time, meow, meow, meow. I've known you for like over a decade. We actually met in college.
Yeah, it's crazy
It's
to think it's been that
crazy.
long.
Yeah, no, social media is all like, did you know back in the day, 14 years ago, you were shit posting on Lord Shadow's social media? Yes, I'm aware. I absolutely have been doing that this whole time. Um, so this is your first time on the show, but I know you've watched some, so you know how it works. Uh, Basically, we go back and forth, kind of round robin style, sharing spooky stories. We chat about it during uh, anytime during the stories. If one of us has a comment or they want to like ask questions, we do that. Sort of just kind of like if we were sitting down having a cup of coffee. Cat jam. Hello, Jotun. Welcome to the chat. Um, we're here for the cult stuff. No. But yeah, we're just gonna be
Always.
always. We're just gonna be having a spooky little chat about stuff, and we'll just go back and forth on it. Sound good?
Sounds good. I mean, if he is here for the cult stuff, he came to the right place. I might be talking a little bit about cults today.
Oh shit! Did I get it on the? Did I get it on the head? Oh, hey Zach, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah. So some of my, I know you've prepped some stuff for this. I had some stuff prepped for me. I prepped some. Uh, there's absolutely a risk that one of these stories or bits of information may or may not be the script to Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. Well, let's find out. Let's dive in, shall we?
All right.
So before we get into like specific lore and stuff, I did find a story on the internet that I think when I read it, because I actually read this one, I was like, you know who needs to hear this? Shadow does. Shadow needs to hear this.
Oh boy.
I figured you would get a kick out of this one. I found it on Reddit, and it's called We Buried This for a Reason. If it found you, that means it wants out. Whatever you do, don't open this box. The box showed up on our doorstep without warning or explanation. It was a cheap looking, thin, metal box with one of those small clasps that couldn't even keep a toddler out. It was smudged with dirt, making the dull box look even duller. By all accounts, it was nothing more than what you'd find at your local thrift store. Yet the moment I saw it, I knew there was something wrong about it. Something evil. What the hell is this? James, my roommate, said. We were standing outside of our apartment, and he looked around to see who dropped it off. No one was nearby. It was late, and we were the only ones out. He bent over to pick it up, but I shouted for him not to. He paused and then looked at me quizzically. Real quick, just as an aside, when I was reading this, I imagined that the apartment that they were in was like the college apartments at JSC. Like that was like the mental image I was doing while I was reading this. I was like, this tracks.
Now I'll have that image stuck in my head.
I'm happy to help.
Interesting.
Happy to help. Maybe it's someone else's, I said, uneasiness growing in my chest. I didn't know why, but I knew he shouldn't open it. Shouldn't even touch it. It's not like an Amazon delivery, he said. Someone just left it here. Maybe it's for Carlos or Sam, I said, referring to our other roommates. Something's written on it, James said. Like always, he ignored me and reached for the box. There's always one friend in the group was like, I'm gonna open it. Let's find out. Always.
All of the touching.
What's this? But he grabbed it, then let out a yelp, letting it go. My heartbeat shot through my throat. Damn, it's freezing, he said, shaking his hand. What's in this thing? Carefully, he nudged it with his foot until he could read the writing. Despite myself, I drifted closer to the box, drawn to its morbid energy. We buried this for a reason, James read. If it found you, that means it wants out. Whatever you do, don't open this box. I couldn't take my eyes off the box, anxiety rising in my chest. We were on the precipice of something bad. I could feel it. James sounds like a dick. Absolutely, Ty. Absolutely. What the fuck? James said with a small laugh. What is this? He looked around again as if expecting someone to pop out and explain the joke. I don't know, I said, my teeth chattering. It was a late summer night, but suddenly I was freezing. My whole body felt strange, extremely on edge, yet somehow almost numb. Just leave it alone. I want to go to bed. I moved to open the door, but James didn't follow. Instead, he looked down at the box, then squatted next to it. I froze, not wanting to acknowledge what he was doing, but also not wanting to turn away from it. James glanced up at me with a mischievous smile on his face. Then he reached for the small clasp. Before I could say anything, he gently flicked open the lock. It sat loosely in its clip, the box still closed. I could feel my heartbeat in my whole body now. I wanted to run, to hide from whatever was inside, but my feet were glued to the ground. My tongue was a weight in my mouth, unable to move. Carefully, James placed his hands on the side of the lid. Weird, he said. It's not cold anymore. And then, in one quick motion, he opened the box.
That's
I
when you close the door and lock it and leave James
like,
out there by
James,
himself.
you actually can't live here anymore, bro. Why? It's a prank. It was just a prank, bro. Okay.
That is a very James thing to do. I
That's
actually
fair.
had someone leeching kinda off me at the college apartments named James. So I could picture them doing this.
So you not only have the scene set, but you're like, it's this guy. This particular James is doing this. Frack.
Yes.
Fully immersing Shadow into the story. Slowly. Oh wait. But nothing. Closed my eyes and clenched my teeth, ready for impact. Da da da. Sorry, I lost track because I got funny. That's what happens. Reading's hard, everyone. Crack literacy is real. Uh, it's empty, he said. I could have swore I sensed a bit of disappointment in his voice. Grunting, he stood up, then walked over to me. See, he said, it was just someone's idea of a dumb prank or something. I glanced down at the box again, feeling silly for having gotten so worked up. This was a college town. Of course, there were a few dumb freshmen who would think this was some kind of hilarious joke. Just bored kids doing dumb shit. That tracks for a college town, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I nodded at James, who unlocked the front door and stepped inside. I followed him, but the uneasy feeling didn't go away. I turned to close the door behind me, but I stopped at the last second. Peeking my head outside, I looked down at our doorstep. The box, which had been there just moments before, was now gone. Nowhere in sight. I looked around, but saw no one on our empty street. A shiver crawled down my body, and I quickly closed the door, double checking to make sure it was locked. Something evil was in that box. I was sure of it, and we had just let it out. To be clear, OP, you didn't let it out, James did. He bad at listening to instructions, right? I feel like it's not their fault.
Maybe James is a cracker and doesn't have the best literacy. Only
Listen, it
knows a few words.
happens. It happens. It happens to the best of us.
Instructions were these.
I would stop if I understood what this meant. I woke up the next morning with a heavy feeling in my chest. Anxiety still gripped me, its presence a physical weight. With the memories of the previous night rushing back, and the dread in my stomach only solidified. Hesitantly, I slid out of bed and made my way towards the kitchen. I heard voices, and then a laugh rippled through the air. My shoulders relaxed, and the tension loosened. Maybe everything was fine. Maybe I was just overreacting. I stepped into the kitchen to see Carlos and James talking at the table. Good morning, Carlos said, slurping down cereal. I heard you guys had a big night last night. James laughed as he took a bite of his banana. Unironically, I'm sure, right? I
Hmm.
gotta stop. I gotta stop. I told him about that redhead you met, he said with a grin. You got her number, yeah? I was about to answer when I remembered something. Carlos, weren't you and Sam going running this morning? They had been preparing for a marathon the past few weeks, and their schedule included lengthy Saturday morning training sessions. Carlos shrugged before answering. We were, but he wasn't in his room this morning. I froze, halfway to the fridge, and then turned around to face the table. The heavy lump in my stomach was back. Haven't you guys been training every day, though? Has he ever missed before? Carlos looked at me curiously. No, he's never missed, he began, but maybe he just went to his family's or something. He doesn't have classes on Monday. I nodded, but I knew something was wrong. I've only known Sam for a few months, but I knew he wouldn't just disappear like this. He was a meticulous planner, every day scheduled out. He wouldn't have left without letting Carlos know he wouldn't be able to train today. He would have told us he'd been gone for the weekend. Personally, I don't. Here's the thing. I also consider myself a meticulous planner, but I think you can also agree to this that like I have also been like the one who just like simply ghosts, like no warning. I'm like bye and just gone. So like maybe
Plan out the
not.
big things and then just kinda, "Oh, this sounds like a good idea right now. I got some time."
Like where did Bunny go? Like oh yeah, didn't you know she moved randomly without telling anyone? That's truly how it went. I got a bunch of phone calls like with like, "Where are you?" Like, "Oh, I moved." Like, "You didn't tell anyone?" "No." Didn't seem important at the time. Oh, that's so funny. I'm so funny. Suddenly, the kitchen felt too small. The walls were closing in on me, suffocating and crushing me. The air was stale, choking me as I tried to breathe. "Oh, are you okay? You don't look so good." I didn't even know who said it, the voice distorted and distant. I nodded shakily, then stumbled out of the kitchen and towards the front door. I fumbled with the locks, my hands slow and heavy. Finally, I got it unlocked and I flung the door open, stepping out into the bright morning. I took deep breaths. The fresh air filled my lungs. I pushed out the bad air and my body began to calm down. My vision returned to normal, the black haze slowly receding. James stood in the doorframe, concern etched on his face. "I'm good," I told him, embarrassment burning the back of my neck. "I'm just gonna go for a walk and get some air." James looked like he wanted to say something, but I left before he could. I needed to get away from him, from our apartment. I walked down the street and turned the corner, heading into the neighborhood. Moving helped me feel better, and I could tell my anxiety was already ebbing away. I was a few blocks away, near an empty park, when I sensed that someone was behind me. I surreptitiously glanced over my shoulder, but couldn't see anyone. The trees rustled in the breeze and a few cars drove by, but I didn't see any other movement. I continued down the street, then cut into the park. An empty baseball diamond stood to my right, and I continued straight ahead, through a thick grove of trees. The feeling of being followed returned, and this time I spun around, ready to face whoever was there. At first, all I could see was the thick tree trunks, the dappled light making it hard to focus on any one spot. And then I saw it, or rather, I saw him. He stood behind a tree, his body mostly blocked from view, only his head poked out, his brown hair hanging loosely around his face. "Sam?" I called out, but he didn't say anything. I stepped closer to get a better look when he suddenly lurched forward, emerging from behind a tree. Something was wrong with him. He didn't look well. Even in the shade, I could tell his skin was a sickly gray. His face was gaunt and expressionless, his eyes sunken and black. His movements were jagged, as if he wasn't fully in control of his body. Rain slug. No, sorry. He dragged them, then snapped forward, an off putting and uncomfortable gait. "Sam?" I called again, backing up this time. Still no response. He simply continued coming towards me, his hands twitching at his side. I felt a tree against my back, blocking my retreat. Sam was only a few feet away from me, and I could see his face more clearly now. His cheekbones were jutted out against his ashen skin, and his eyelids twitched as he stepped forward. A low moan slipped between his cracked lips, and what looked like dirt spilled from his mouth. Ugh, gross. That's gross. I didn't try to talk to him again. Turning to the side, I ran through the trees and back towards my apartment. I didn't stop until I got to my block, my lungs burning. I burst through the front door and then slammed it behind me. Heaving deep breaths, I slid to the window and peered outside, separating the blinds with my fingers. I looked down the empty street, searching for any sign of movement. A car drove by and a young woman jogged on the sidewalk, but no sign of Sam. And then, at the very end of my block, I saw him. He hobbled forward, sticking to the shade. Even this far away, I could tell he was looking at my apartment. He was looking at me. I swore then. I ran to my room, looking for my phone. I found it on my bedside, but it was dead, the charger lying uselessly on the ground. I spun around, ready to bolt for my room, when I saw something that made my blood turn to ice. There, sitting on my desk, was the metal box from the previous night. It was open, the dark space inside like a cave. Its presence seemed to disrupt gravity, pulling me toward the black hole inside of it. As if on their own, my legs carried me towards the box. It loomed large in my vision, the only thing I could focus on. When I got to the desk, I looked inside the box. Unlike last night, it was no longer empty. There, sitting at the bottom of the inky blackness, were three plastic cards. I looked closer and realized what they were: driver's licenses. For whatever reason, my three roommates' licenses were in this box. Sam, Carlos, and James's smiling faces peered up at me from the darkness. What? Do people smile for their driver's license photos? I feel like if I try, I've had, this is just me breaking out a story for a second. Every time I have gone to the DMV to get a photo for a driver's license or a non-driver ID or anything, those photos, I always either look super pissed off. There was one year actually for my permit, like way, way back. I sneezed when they took the photo, and this was in Vermont. So when they took the photo, they hadn't printed it yet. It was in the middle of being printed. And I was like, "Hey, can I redo that?" And they're like, "You have to pay for a whole nother ID." And I wasn't about to drop another $40, so you bet your ass I rocked out sneeze face for 3 years.
I feel like they try to have you have like a natural
Yeah, because ain't nobody
or
smiling when they
yeah,
get pulled
smile.
over. And you have a natural looking driver's license photo, Jotun? I don't know. I just always look. Maybe it's just my face. Is it me? Am I the problem? Smiling faces. I reached out for
So
them. Mhm.
it sounds like Sam took the meaning of someone must have told him to go eat dirt, and he just decided to go eat some dirt.
Like, you know what?
Sounds
That
like a wonderful
tracks. Let's
idea.
try it out. I've tried everything training for this marathon. Something's got to give me an edge. I reached out for them when a thud suddenly rang through my apartment. I turned to my door just in time to see two shadowy figures slide into view. Carlos and James stood in the doorframe, their sickly skin stark against the dark hallway. Just like Sam, their eyes were sunken and their movements disjointed. They stumbled through the door, their hands reaching out for me. Slamming the box shut, I backed towards my bedroom window and threw it open. Without thinking, I burst through the screen, tearing it from the frame as I tumbled outside. I scrambled across the ground, my hands scratching against the asphalt. I pulled myself from the room, a pair of clammy hands grasping for my ankle. I kicked wildly, making contact with something solid before their grip loosened. I looked back to see Carlos pulling himself through the window, James right behind. And from around the corner, Sam stumbled towards me. All three were closing in on me, their movements becoming quicker and more violent, like dogs who know their prey is cornered. I was in the parking lot of our complex, a fenced in area with Sam blocking the only exit. I scrambled to my feet looking for a way out, but there was nothing. The cold metal of the box cut into my side, the dirt spreading to my shirt. I looked at the message again, reading it once more. Buried. With only seconds left before the three descended on me, I ran towards the farthest edge of the parking lot, where the bike rack stood. It sat in a patch of unkempt grass, more weeds than anything else. I dove to my knees and began digging into the dirt with my hands. I could hear the others behind me, their shadows falling across my back. I continued to dig, my fingers burning as I pushed through the earth. Rocks bit at my hands, blood mixing with the soil, but I pushed on. I could hear the three behind me now. I could feel their presence bearing down. Grabbing the box, I threw it into the hole and began pushing the dirt over the top. A cold hand wrapped around my neck. My breath caught in my throat. Another pair fell on my shoulders, digging into my skin. I continued to pile the dirt on top of the box, the metal glinting from its hole. Another hand grasped my left arm, and I struggled with my right hand to push the remaining dirt over the exposed metal. My vision began to swim. My mind was growing tired when the last of the earth covered the box. Then, in an instant, I could breathe again. The hands around my neck, on my shoulders and arm, were no longer present. just open air all around me. I took in deep, ragged breaths, the air burning my bruised throat, but I didn't care. I was safe. The box was buried, the monster hidden away once more. I still don't know what happened to Sam, Carlos, or James. And when I finally had the energy, I'd called the police and told them what happened. I left out the part about the box, though. I knew that would only complicate things. Our front door was busted open, and there was a clear evidence of a struggle in my room. But no one could find my roommates. It was like they just disappeared, swallowed up by the earth. The night after I reported the attack, I snuck out to the parking lot. I dug up the ground around the bike rack where I knew I'd buried the box. But it wasn't there. Only empty space. It was gone, just like my roommates. It's been a few weeks since the incident. I ended up dropping out of school. The trauma of everything was just too much. Seeing some missing persons posters of people I knew was actually just a little too difficult. I hope to go back to college one day, but not for a while. I still don't know what happened, but one thing's for sure. If you ever find a box outside of your door with a mysterious note not to open it, don't. Who knows what you'll unbury? So that was a story posted on the subreddit No Sleep 14 days ago by user flimsy underscore counter underscore 4497. Um, I really liked that. Not gonna lie to you, it was actually I thought it was very well done. And also I kind of feel like James was for sure the asshole in the situation.
And he paid the price.
I mean, here's the thing. Maybe this is just me, my brain. But if you see a note on a creepy random ass box on your doorstep that says, "Hey, don't open this." If it's found you, like it's trying to do like I'm fully like, "Cool, I never saw this box. We're going to ignore it." Or even just like kick it over, you know? Like put something on top of it, pretend it's not there. It's now a weird decoration and no one's ever to touch it, you know? That's just me. I don't go investigating creepy ass noises. I go, cool, I never heard that. Have a nice day. And I go the other way. James
I
like,
mean,
it's just
at the very least, should have been like, "Hey, public safety, we found this weird box outside our door."
public safety. Come on. You should open it. But
Then
like
it's their problem.
then it's their problem. Exactly.
You take this somewhere, we don't want it.
They'd be like, cool, yeet it into the trash. Yeah, that's weird to me, the whole thing. But it was in my mind pretty spooky. And I did have that like I was imagining like J State, just like that whole region. Like the running through the forest bit. I was thinking of
Hmm.
the Frolf court.
Yeah, in the parking lot, I was thinking about the upper parking lot at the college
Over by
dorms.
the art center. Yeah, that's totally like I planned it out in my head. I was like, this makes sense. This is how I like that was how I mapped it out. It made sense to me. Feel really bad for OP though, because like it wasn't their fault. They didn't open it.
Nope.
Rough.
Curious how the licenses got in there.
You know what? Yeah.
It's
Like
like, did it overpower them to make them like place it inside the box and then did its thing to them?
or like did they like how did it like where the dog so the box was on the porch. James opened it being like it's a prank, bro. And then they left it on the porch. But when they went inside and like before they even cleared the doorway, it was gone. So like did it teleport into Sam's room? And then Sam was like, this is a cool box. I'm going to throw my ID in it for whatever reason. And then the others later on were like, oh, here's Sam's ID. You know what would be a great thing to do? Let's throw our IDs in it. I don't even know.
Curious. And why licenses? Why not like a college ID?
Right?
Because I would feel like they'd have that more accessible than
Well, I
because
mean,
your college ID gets you
I
everywhere.
always kept my college ID on a lanyard.
Yeah.
So I could swing that bad boy up, hit the door thing. That's just me. That's just me. I liked that story. I figured you
It
would
was
get
a
a
good
kick
story.
out of it. And it's creepy. So that kind of brings up the whole idea, though, because I feel like we're gonna go on a. And we talked about this before you got here, before we like went live, and we sort of have a little bit of a theme going on today of
Yes.
college stories. What's haunting you? So I know you did some research. I would love to hear about the information you found out.
Okay. So on my end, I'm going to be talking about. I was thinking about haunting you, universities. I was like, I'm going to look up individual universities and talk about kind of like their history and stories and just details about hauntings in that area. So today I've looked into Ohio University, which is one of the most haunted campuses in the world. Was shown on Scariest Places on Earth, and it was opened in 1809, so it was a fairly old campus.
Okay.
The first little bit is the fact that Ohio University was built on a cemetery. So some say it's part
What?
of a native burial grounds, but it was actually the gravesite for what was once the Athens Mental Institute, which was an insane asylum that was closed and abandoned in 1993. So essentially, Ohio University was built on their um, gravesite because they had to sell off parts of their land to keep running. And Ohio University slowly bought all the land from this mental institute. So you already know there's going to be some crazy energy there.
Yeah, that's like some bad vibes. Yes, Jotun, somebody did say Ohio. Talking about Ohio U. Oh man. So they did on a cemetery and a on the property where an insane asylum once stood. Did they like convert the buildings, or did they just tear them down and build them up?
One of the buildings I'm going to get into later is one of the more popular stories I came up with. It's still on campus. It's actually part of like it's historically saved. So there's like a historical thing about it where they can't take it down. Um,
Oh, okay, so like a historical landmark site where like
yeah,
they're like
so that's
societies, they're
so
like, we're gonna give you a grant, please don't touch anything.
yeah, absolutely crazy. So to give you all a better idea about the institute, I dug further into what the institute was. Um, so the Mental Institute was open from 1874 to 1993. So it opened after the university did and took up residence near the university, which to me just seems like a horrible idea to begin with.
For sure, for sure.
So changed names a lot. One of the first names was Athens Lunatic Asylum. That's promising.
That just rolls
Uh,
off the tongue too, right?
it was a nicely designed place that was quickly overrun with patients. The number of available capacity changes. I found a lot of different numbers, but the typical difference between the number it was supposed to house and how many it actually was housing at points was 3 times over its capacity.
Mm,
So a lot of estimates were around 500, with the actual number being close to 2,000. Um, some of the patients there included a girl with epilepsy who was considered a demon possessed, and individuals who had mental disabilities. So they had a wide range of people there. Uh, with the added numbers, the staff began to be ragged and worn. So over time, the staff started dropping off, less staff, more patients, and soon the staff became doing questionable, less humane treatments and punishments, which included like cold dunks in tubs and shock therapy and lobotomy for more unruly patients. And as time progressed, lobotomy became more and more of a regular practice.
that's rough.
So
Lobotomy is the
there's
thing where they put a spike between your like right at the beginning of like your orbital socket, and they just like drive it in to like basically turn off your brain a little bit.
Yeah. So there's a ton of bad energy here. Um, one case I found there, so was that of a 53-year-old woman named Margaret Shillings. She disappeared on December 1st, 1978. Now, some stories say she was playing hide and seek with some of the forgetful staff. Some say she simply was wandering around the grounds and got misplaced. Either way, she found herself locked in a less used space that used to be an infirmary. A lot of the doors in the institute auto locked on one side because of safety reasons. Makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, she wasn't found until several weeks later. Her autopsy report said she died of a heart failure, most likely from hypothermia, and she was found with her clothes folded in a neat pile next to her.
What?
Uh, re- yeah, really weird. I was like, I wonder if it's like part of their thing where they take their clothes off at the end of the day before they go to sleep and change into something like for sleepwear and just fold their clothes up next to
So
wherever
like
they're
she was
sleeping.
out like whenever, and she was like, "Oh, I'm tired," and then just like continue to go about her like getting ready for bed routine.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Um, so they when they removed her body, it left a human-sized stain on the floor.
Ugh.
Which this building is one of the buildings that has been indoctrinated into a historical thing. So you can still go to this building today and see that spot on the floor because it's still on Ohio University campus. Many people visiting there today witness a woman matching her description, looking out or in windows of the building, with the most instances being the very room she was found in. Other people hear a woman's disembodied voice, shadow people, lights turning on and off, along with squeaking gurneys, which ties back into the ward, the health ward
Yeah.
of that area. Uh, so yeah, it's on the National Register of Historic Places, and is called part of what is called the Ridges on campus now. So that was the first bit of information.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's just time to get the bleach. So essentially, what happened was she was there long enough that her body reacted with the chemicals in the cleaning supplies.
So like
And
it
so, like,
it like lye stained it.
yeah. So it's like forever stained on the floor now.
That's awful. Ew. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Archie. Ew indeed. Ew indeed. Oh, that's awful though.
So, yeah, just knowing that information. The next bit is about cemeteries. So, if you wanted to dive into another little side story, we can do that before I move on to
Yeah. I mean,
all the fun
yeah.
cemeteries.
I kind of need to know now.
Need to know about.
I do. You've already opened the door. I have to know now.
Okay. So, not only is the campus on the insane asylum cemetery and possibly part of a Native American cemetery. But it is said if you pull up a map of Athens, Ohio, where the university is, you will see there are 5 cemeteries near the university. And if you were to draw some lines between these cemeteries and the university, you could draw a pentagram. And guess what's in the center of that pentagram?
Is
The
it
university.
the university?
Mm-hmm.
That's such an
And
odd coincidence, and it reminds me of I can't remember which pizza chain it is, but there was like a whole thing on the internet at some point where people were like, if you look at like the pizza chains, like they form They form a pentagram on the map. Get woke, people. I can't remember which pizza chain it is. Someone fact check me. Like the
But
ley lines.
more specifically, Wilson Hall on the university campus, which we'll come back to later. Um, but out of the cemeteries, there is Sim Cemetery, and it's reportedly one of the most haunted sites in the United States. So it's just all this bad energy around this place.
just just a whole pile of note.
Um, the strange thing about this cemetery that makes me a little kind of hesitant um, is it's said to move,
What?
making it difficult to find. Yeah, exactly. It is located far away from a road and on a desolate and beaten path. Many people have tried to find the cemetery to no avail, and those who have found it get lost when they try to return. And the name of the cemetery came from a Judge John Sims who was buried there. He was a judge and executioner in the area and would hang the guilty from a tree in the cemetery. So it is said you can still see the rope burns there. Sometimes people who go up there see uh, people there in the tree and see Sims himself yelling to people to get out and not to come back.
Get off my lawn. That's so the moving cemetery thing. It
Yeah,
totally
that's
gives me
like
like some bad like Rose Red vibes. Or like it's there but it's not. You have to like do a thing to get into it. And if you like almost like the Feywilds, like you get in there but if you don't know your way out, you're stuck. That's
so.
crazy.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. So I'm like, as I kept diving deeper and deeper into all this history, I was like, what have I gotten myself into here?
You're like, why did I do this? Yeah, I need answers. Oh my god. I wonder if their tuition reflects the like that it's like super bad vibes there. Kind of like, if like someone is murdered in a house, how like the realtor is like, we took money off the house. It's a beautiful house, but because of crazy homicide, we can offer you this deal. Or if it's the other way around, they're like, because it's such a haunted place, you have to pay a premium to attend uh Ghosty Boy University.
We charge you extra for the ghost.
Charge you extra. That's crazy. Oh my god. Do you have more on this?
Um, I have one more thing on Sims.
Okay, yeah. I need to know about this. This
Um,
guy sounds like a prick, but I need to know about his life.
this this cemetery, a group of college students found it.
Okay.
Um, from the Delta House. So, you know, really, really you upstanding individuals.
Yeah,
Say with that complete sarcasm.
for sure.
Uh, couple of the fraternity people stole a tombstone from the cemetery,
I don't feel bad for anything that happens to them. Go on. But
and they brought it back to their Delta house. And soon after they did this, there was a large increase in poltergeist reportings.
oh
Uh, th-
shit.
Pictures being flung off walls, cups and things going missing, keys being misplaced, um, lamps breaking, that sort of stuff. So the one smart thing they did were like, oh hey, this started happening around the time we brought this tombstone here. Maybe we should bring it back. So they all got together and jumped in the car and went to where they could, as close as they could to it in the dead of night. And they returned said tombstone. Um, they so they met Sims on their trip.
Oh shit.
Uh, Yeah, it was not a pleasant experience. He was angry and was shouting at them, and they said they were chased by him. But they left the tombstone there and ran as fast as they could. And the next day they got back and no more reports of poltergeist activity.
There's so many things I want to touch on that. Firstly, super creepy. The whole idea of like, because I think poltergeist, it's like a noisy, it's the etymology of it is like it's a noisy spirit or a disgruntled spirit, that just increasingly starts like throwing shit, making unexplained noises, just trying to. They're usually they're brought on. The whole idea is that they're brought on by a specific action or a disruption. So that does track that, like, you stole something from a thing and it followed you because you've had that item. You were disrespectful, so they were just going to disrespect. Zombie makes a valid point in chat. Um, Stuff breaking, things going missing, classic frat house pranks. Um, Greek life is toxic, and I'm sure that they were also super drunk during some or part of this. But
Yes,
so
for
it's
sure.
so it's like, was stuff missing, or did they just forget where they put it? But like, that's still, I don't even know. Like, as a person who has seen spooky, scary things, I don't even. I'm just trying to think how you get in the mindset of you should take part of someone's headstone from a cemetery. Like, how do you get to that point and logically go, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's do this.
It
That's
looked
wild to
great
me.
in our living room.
Put it right in our living room. Exactly. Like, that's. Were they being haunted or was it just a raccoon? You decide. Oh man, that's some real shit. I
It's
feel
like,
that
hey, you know
wholeheartedly.
what looked good in that mantle spot right there? Piece of a
Tombstone from the
headstone.
1800s. Let's do it. Let's go now. Ah, that's so wild.
We'll go to this cemetery because people get lost going to it all the time. They won't know. No
Yeah,
one's
like,
been
okay,
buried here for a long
so they
time.
not only this cemetery that, per the local lore, is super hard to find, and if you find it, you can't get out. So these freaking frat bros find it twice. Like, it's so hard for me to suspend my disbelief, because on the one hand I'm like, that's crazy, like that shit's crazy, but also, like, if everybody's like, no, you can't find it, these dudes find the place
Just
twice.
need to hire them.
Like,
Yeah, that's why I was like, I like all the other parts of the story about that cemetery, except for the disappearing part. It seems
it seems super far-fetched, or maybe it's just like so difficult to like track your way around because there's so many different cemeteries, so you're not really sure. And these dudes just happen to know how to get there because they were wasted. So they did like the like state of mind ability to recall thought, like, no, we just have to get super wasted again, guys, and we'll find it. Like, I believe in you, spring break. Like, oh my god, that's wild. Ah, Sims though, that guy sounds like a dick. Um,
yeah, yeah. I
oh,
was like, a part of me wanted to research him more, but I was like, I'm already so far down this rabbit hole that I don't want to dig myself deeper.
no, that's how you end up with like a crazy murder board in your living room. And everyone's like, "Hey, Shadow, what's that?" And you're like, "I need answers. I have to know." That's wild. So it sounds like Ohio University. So they're specifically listed as the most haunted college in the United States. Is that right?
One of the most. I'm not sure if it's the most haunted in the U.S., but they're. I think they're in the top 8 in the whole world.
Who goes about making this listicle?
I don't know. That's
Who
a very
decides?
good
Like, what are
question.
the metrics to decide it?
I
That's
imagine it's like the number of reports and just general. I don't know how they would like. I could just make up a bunch of reports and be considered one of the more haunted places, but
Yeah, just
they
create
must have
like
people
15
checking on this
throwaway
somehow.
accounts and just start posting about it on Reddit and be like, "No, man, this place is scary." Like, we went to a college where there were actual like super creepy ghost stories. And there was like a ghost in almost every building, like per the lore. And it was a small ass college, but
Mhm.
like there was this the theater place, it was the Dibdin Hall, and the guy who like put the funds down to make it happen, who was a super like, I love the arts, I will put money towards like supporting the arts. It said that during shows, like no one sit, like you can't sit in that one, there's one seat in the auditorium that no one's allowed to sit in ever because that's Arthur's seat. And if it's a good show, you'll see the seat sit like flop down and he's sitting in it. And I've seen it. I've seen it happen and it's super wild. Cuz
Yeah,
we did the vagina monologues there, and it just went down. It was crazy. And I was like, "Arthur, you're a real ally. Appreciate you." That's wild. Oh man.
absolutely crazy. Yeah.
I actually found a story about a different college that I figured I would tell you about. It's about it's in the Huntington College in Montgomery, Alabama. It's a specific ghost. It's the Red Lady of Huntington College. Um and it's said she said to haunt the former Pratt Hall dormitory. Um it's been in different she's been like, canonized in different stories, but it was a women's college that, came about in 1918. Um there were definitely a couple of different iterations of the story. She's described as a young woman wearing a scarlet dress, carrying a scarlet parasol, um, who just walks up and down the halls of the dormitory at night, bathed in a red glow. Basically, it eventually left the residence hall and she disappeared from view outside of the gate. Um, People are saying that this first red lady is a wraith, um, but it only happened a couple of times. Like this particular iterance of the red lady only happened a couple of times. What is this college consensus? So Zombie put a listicle, it looks like, of most haunted colleges, a ranking in the chat. Okay. And I'll have to look at that later because that's a lot of information to read right now. Um, I'll have to click through that link eventually, but um, there was a second red lady. The first one, again, she showed up a couple of times, would walk through the halls, just like very red, glowing red, like wearing red, um, and then would walk through the halls and then leave the hall, and would just disappear as soon as she got to the gateway outside. Um, After the first couple of instances of seeing her, she people just stopped seeing her. And then there was a second red lady, at the same college, who they're saying is a who the person who wrote one of the main books about the different colleges being haunted. This is a former student who was named Martha or Margaret, who had come to Huntington because her father's mother had attended back when it was in Tuskegee, and uh, he wanted her to attend his mother's alma mater. So she didn't want to come, but she just wanted to she just like, okay, I'll do what my dad says, whatever. According to the legend, she was dressed in red when she arrived. And she had bought a bunch of red stuff to like deck out her room. And apparently she was like super like red was her very favorite color everywhere. Um Apparently she wasn't a very happy person. She wasn't really good at making friends. She did have one. There was one person that she had as her friend. They don't ever actually say who she is in this story, allegedly, because I mean, this is all from the account of one person who wrote this, who wrote about these different colleges. So Martha or Margaret um, would just start being super weird, where she would just like walk around. She would visit, different dorms while people were asleep, and just kind of like trance out, like really creepily, just walk into people's rooms, stand there tranced out for a little bit, and then go to another room and do the same thing. And she would just do it like in the weird, like wee hours of the morning. And everybody else who was living there was like, "Hey, you're really creepy. Don't do that." Um, Apparently,
You
she at
want
one
friends? This is how you don't get friends.
like, why can't I make friends? So weird. Because you're walking around being creepy at like 3 a.m., Martha. What? Isn't that how you make friends? Just opening random dorm rooms and just creep watching people? Because it wasn't like it was an unnoticed thing. Obviously, people were like, hey, why are you in my room? And she was just like unresponsive, just tranced out, just standing there. Not a fan. Um, so she apparently at one point stopped going to meals or classes. Um, and the dormitory president had a weird feeling about the whole thing. Um, she got near Martha's room, which was apparent. It was because of her dad's money. It was its own private room, like an isolated corridor. Like she had a whole section. Um, it was said that she had noticed flashes of red shooting out under the corridor, from the room's transom. And when she opened the door, she screamed and fainted. Everyone on the fourth floor rushed up. And the story goes that they found Martha on the floor of her room, dressed in a red robe, having had sliced her arms, unalived herself, which is awful. And if you are feeling that way, please reach out to someone. But also, this happened a very long time ago, and on the alleged date of all this happening, um, it's reported that rays of crimson light flash down from that room, and that the red lady will return to the calls to haunt the corridors. They've People have reported seeing Martha's ghost just on the fourth floor, having it pass through walls or doors, which is super weird. So even in death, allegedly, she's still being a creep. Like,
Coming in, watching you sleep.
consistency is key. I did find a fun thing though, is that some different sororities in October do a red lady run where they paint their faces, they wear all black, and they run around the campus.
That's
Which
fun.
I mean, that was a feeling. That was a good way to turn it up. That's not the only ghost. The other ghost from Huntington College was a male student who also had some hard times on the college green. Is where he had done his bit, um, because of an issue with a former girlfriend. Students report feeling unseen forces tugging on their clothes when they walk through this green at night, or messing with their hair, or blowing in their ears. Then there was another boy who drowned in a college pond. A female student who walks around clad only in a towel. And then there's also, and this is cute, Frank the library ghost, which is a poltergeist who haunts the library stacks. All in all, um, it's super cute. I liked it. I like that whole idea, not about the sad things that happen there, but that there's such a wide range of different creepy things that can happen. That these are all Some of them are stories that can be confirmed, just because, like, the one in 1970s, that's That's something we do, something from, like, the 1800s where we don't even know their name. Why not make a cheeky run out of it?
Yeah.
I just can't imagine being a ghost, though. It's, again, that whole thing, like, I can't make friends, I don't know why. And then, like, you be a creep, and then you continue to be a creep in later, like, in your ghost years. Just strike up a conversation with someone, it's okay.
So that story not only remind me of a few stories about Ohio U that I have, but also about a story from Johnson.
Yes, I'm here for it.
So, my sophomore year, I lived in Arthur's Hall with with a friend, acquaintance, and kept having these strange experiences. Didn't think much about it. One day in class, I was coming in, and some of the students were talking about um, being glad they weren't living in their old room and talking about like ghost experiences they were having on campus and stuff. And I was like, huh, interesting. So I started talking about my experiences, and they're like, you live in Arthur's, right? I was like, yes, this is where I live. And they're like, that was our room last year. We had so many strange experiences in there too. And I was like, okay. So one thing that would happen in there is my roommate and I would be up gaming that night and just hanging out, and we'd be sitting either in a chair or on our bed, and I would at times feel like the bed would lower next to me, like someone's sitting there,
Mhm.
and I'd feel like a hand on my leg,
Oof.
like someone was just resting their hand there. And at times, no, I ignored it at first, but after learning that, when that experience happened again, I said, no, thank you. Please give me my space. And I felt the hand go away.
I don't consent to being touched. Thank you, ghost.
And I was like, this is really weird. And I got up and I moved to my chair. Um, and some other times, my roommate and I were talking, and it was later at night again, and we had our lamps on instead of our overhead light because it was too much light.
Yeah.
And sitting there watching TV, chatting, and all of a sudden, my lamp was on the very top end corner of my desk.
So it moved?
My roommate looks over and sees it come out off the desk and crash on my head because he was looking at something. I'm like, what are you staring at? And then, bam,
Oh,
right on my
shit.
head. And I was like, he goes, that just straight up moved across your desk. And I was like, I'm getting out of here for a minute. And I just got up and I left the room for like a
You're
good
like,
hour.
"No, it didn't. I'm leaving today."
So yeah, that creepy spirit reminds me that
Is
I once
Arthur's
lived with a creepy spirit.
I know that there was Arthur's and Martinetti. I can't remember which one was the super dry dorm and which one was
That
the
was
one
Arthur's.
above uh, the administrative building.
Yeah, Arthur's was a super dry. Martinetti was above administration.
Okay.
But yeah, I never figured out who used to live in that room
I
that could
actually
possibly be
remember
tied to that.
stories. I remember specific stories about that building. I couldn't remember
Yeah,
what the building was called, but I remember hearing that there was a whole instance in the basement level. Back, I guess at one point there were rooms in the basement, and there were kids that it was actually one of the reasons it became um, kind of very like that building was very strict about rules was because of kids in like the early years of the college who were just like they would get into fights, crazy shit would happen, and at some point or another, there was a death that happened, and the guy was said to visit his friends' dorms and trash the place. Like he would go up, his spirit would go to different rooms in the building that used to be his friends when he was alive, and he would trash shit, just like throw stuff off walls, shake beds, all sorts of crazy shit. And you could sometimes see him walking down that one corridor on the base floor, on the way out and then holding the door shut. Can't remember
Hmm.
who told me about that one,
I did
but
hear about deaths down in the bottom floor of Arthur's, but I did not hear in that great of detail.
well, at one
Yeah.
point when I was at Johnson, you know me, I have a lot of friends everywhere. Because
Of course.
I'm so
Yes.
effervescent and people just like me. Also, I tell them that they like me and they're like, "Okay, sure, I guess." That's
Can
how we became
confirm.
friends. I was like, "Hey, what's up? I'm Bunny. I'm your new best friend. Deal with it." You're like, "All right, you're very intense, and I'm just gonna go with it." but
I
I
believe
had
it was at the like the student
yeah, like freshman
like
orientation, I was running a booth
group.
and I was like,
Yeah,
"Hey."
group of, hey, you want to check these activities out that you may want to join? And I was like, ooh, eco-friendly stuff. I'm gonna come over here. And then there's Bunny. We're gonna be friends now.
I was like,
Okay.
hey, incoming freshman, not only am I putting you to work and we're gonna make really cool artsy recycling bins, but also I'm your friend. Deal with it." um, but no, I had friends who were like, "Oh, we should go check out creepy stuff, spooky." Because of course, even just as general, like there are definitely like types of buildings or types of environments where people naturally um are faced with, paranormal experiences. Like malls, some hotels are like that, colleges, like dorm room places in particular, like dorm schools in particular, you see that kind of thing. Um, but it was so unique that like so many people were like there are so many ghosts on this campus and it's such a small campus. So I was like, okay. And if friends would be like, yeah, we're gonna go investigate different places. So I'd people would tell me all these crazy stories. And I would go with a couple of friends, late at night, we check out different places. There was one girl who was like, I'm gonna bring a Ouija board down into the hallway in Senators
Hmm.
in front of this one room that no one's allowed to live in anymore because it's so haunted. And I'm gonna do a Ouija conference in the hallway. And I was like, I'm not part of that. Have a nice day. Like, you have fun. No, thank you. But we would go and investigate different things, and sometimes it would be, like, late at night, and there are obviously buildings that, students there's time locks on your ID, you can't get into certain buildings at a certain hour, but public safety would just be like, "Oh, buddy, you and your friends wanna go, like, investigate in this very closed off building? Yeah, sure, we'll go with you, why not?" And it was just a very nice, chill way to, like, go and investigate, uh, but yeah, I have a bunch of, like, different little spooky areas. Like I think there was one in the top floor of the library, which is a relatively new building.
Hmm.
Um, and then in the administrative building, there was the one bookkeeper who would walk back and forth late at night um, because they were trying to get the budget figured out. And something crazy, I don't know how that person died, but, like, it was said, like, late at night, you could see them from the outside windows, or if you were in Martinetti, if you went downstairs late at night, you would see this bookkeeper, he would be frantically running back and forth, muttering to himself about how he needed to keep things afloat, and you would just see him muttering random money talk, and then he would walk through the wall and disappear, and actually was that wall that he would walk through used to be a, like, corridor to walk through.
Hmm.
Ghosts are wild. Ghosts are wild. Oh, man. Do you have any more
So
Ohio U stuff?
I do. I have lots more. So you're talking about the lady in red,
Yeah.
and that reminded me of some stories around the pink party girl that I heard about Ohio.
Oh
So,
my god, is it Elle? Is it Elle Woods? Get into Ohio U like it's hard. No, sorry. Sorry.
so the first story about this pink party girl, it's not really a story, but she was often spotted wearing an outdated bright pink party dress. I'm not sure what building this is in. Oh, uh, Pomeran Hall. She's often seen there, and she can manipulate computers.
Ooh.
From what the stories go, she messes with computers. It doesn't give like a lot of details on how, like what she does to the computers, but there's many reports of strange happenings with computers in that hall. Um, Specifically in room 213, and she's often seen there walking the length of the room to the window, looking out the window uh, over the lake. It's called Mirror Lake, and then
Okay.
just disappearing. So fast forward to that at Mirror Lake, there is reports of a lady of the lake. Um, it's the most widely spotted ghost at the university. On
Okay.
cold wintry nights, you can see her um, like walking across the ice, warming her hands, and wearing outdated clothing. So, the thing about this is some people say she's wearing white, while others say she's wearing pink. So they don't know, but they think it's the same pink lady, but they're not sure. Uh, which would connect back to her constantly looking over the lake. And like maybe she was there and then went out on the lake and something happened. Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but if she's not the pink party girl, um, some people believe she may have been the ghost of Dr. Clark's disgruntled wife. But no one ever approaches her. They always get these strange vibes, like they shouldn't approach. So no one's ever actually approached to get a
To,
better
to see if she
visual.
responds or like see what she looks like.
Now, Dr. Clark was a um, professor there, uh, and an unfortunate event with him happened in the fall of 1903. So he was at Mirror Lake, which is where the hall now stands. He had become depressed following a failed Alaskan mining expedition. It was either oil or it was mining or oil. He even turned to the president of the university at the time for financial help. He was turned away by everyone he approached, and he ended up killing himself on that location. So his wife blames Ohio State for his death, and he supposedly still walks those halls, or did walk the halls for quite some time, banging on the walls and slamming doors. But recently, that dorm building has had some renovations, and ever since the renovations have taken place, there hasn't been the banging on the walls and the slamming of the doors.
Hmm.
So they don't know if he's moved on or if he's just things aren't in the usual spot or what's going on. But ever since the renovation has taken place, there haven't been reports of the usual activities. Just super strange.
That is, because usually it's the other way around, where
Yeah,
like
it
everything
would
was good
increase.
until they changed up things in the house.
So, and then you were talking about something else, and it reminded me of another story from Ohio U. And just need to figure out which one.
I know I was talking about the different ghosts at Johnson,
Yeah.
and then public safety being like, "Of course, Bunny, we will actually. You don't need to break into these places. We'll let you in, and we'll hang out while you do your investigation." I actually had
Oh,
one public safety dude who was like, this shit creeps me out. So I'm actually not gonna go in this room with you guys, but I will stand at the door. Like, and just make, if anything crazy happens, just like run. Just run. Okay.
So one thing that I was reminded of when I was talking about the kind of my ghostly experience of the hand on the leg in the bed and stuff like that is a story in the Convo Center on Ohio University. There are a few reports for that building, one of which is of a ghost who died in their sleep. Um, died, not sure how, not sure why, but it is said that those who stay in that room can sometimes feel the embrace of another person while sleeping in that room.
That's so that's wholesome. Just like I'm
So it's
gonna
like
snuggle
it's creep.
you.
It's like kind of creepy, but you don't feel creeped out by it because they're being nice to you. Um,
Just like so creepy though, because you're like, I live alone. I'm fine. And suddenly something's just like moving the hair out of your eye, being like, hey, I can save you money on your car insurance. Oh, I like that
so
one though.
yeah, that was a nice little story. Um, it's like if you had a really bad day, that's a great place to live.
Yeah, like, you know what? Everybody else sucks. But this ghost loves me unconditionally. Like, more spirits
Their
I can.
neighbor, however, I'm not sure if it's actually the neighbor, but there's another ghost on the floor that isn't so nice. They like to throw things. They like to open up the closets and throw things on the floor, and open and close the closet door.
Just a real dick.
Yeah. Talk about horrible roommates.
I think we've
This one
all
takes
at
the
some
cake.
point have that. In your life. There's always that one roommate you're like, man, I kinda wish I had never roomed with them.
Oh yeah.
Only you didn't get to sign up, you didn't get a notice from like an R like, hey, this semester you're gonna be living with so and so. Instead you moved in and it was like, hey. Also, like, fuck everything in your closet in particular. Oh man,
This dress is not the right color. Goes on the floor.
I refuse. I will not let you embarrass me by wearing this.
This has a hole in it. What are you thinking?
What do you
On the
look at
floor.
your life? Look at your choices. You cannot. I refuse. You're a mess.
And now your room reflects your mess.
Figure it out. Oh man, priceless. I love it.
I'm gonna open and close this door until you get your shit together.
Don't care where you take it. Just get it together. Oh, ghosts are wild.
Also in the same building is another nice ghost. Um, Not very nice the way it came to be.
Right.
Uh, there was an RA who was murdered
Oh shit.
by a disgruntled boyfriend. However, she is still an RA. She still walks the halls and checks in on the students and can be seen walking said halls.
That's that's dedication, and I'm very happy that she's still looking out for people. I really hope the closet ghost was like, hold on, I'm gonna take care of him right quick. I went to his room and
I'm
just like it's like I can't hurt you, but I'm gonna
gonna make
really
your day
fuck up
miserable.
I'm gonna really fuck up your day. Ah, that's awful, but oh man. Yeah, you always see that though, like with ghosts, like it's rarely like I fell asleep and then you can't wake up dead. Like you can't go to bed dead. Like you just like usually it's like some crazy traumatic thing, and then suddenly there's a ghost there. So it's kind of like on the one hand, if you're playing the skeptic role, well, of course that person in their post life thing would be doing traumatic, crazy things because they had such a traumatic thing, like a traumatic death or something happened to them. But on the other hand, It's like if I had some really traumatic stuff that led to me becoming a ghost, I would for sure continue to like fuck with shit, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Like, I don't even know.
So,
I found one college actually in Massachusetts.
ooh,
Smith College. Massachusetts as a whole is a like hot spot for a lot of different crazy ghost lore, supernatural lore. Smith College originally opened up in 1875 in Northampton, Massachusetts. It was a women's college at the beginning, but it's since then expanded out. Um, and there's actually a whole section when you go to look up their information specific to campus folklore. Like, that's how big of a deal it is. Like, there's a lot of different folk tales and ghost stories that emerge from the area and like the historic buildings that make up the campus. According to the college consensus, it is the most haunted college in America, which, again, I don't really know the measurement in which they make these rankings, so I don't know if that's still true or accurate or how accurate that is. Um, they do have a story in the Sessions House, which is one of the buildings there. Uh, it looks like it's a dorm, I think. Uh, it's inhabited by the ghost of Lucy Hunt, who died of a broken heart after being separated from her lover, who was a
aw,
general. Um, and it's super weird because the ghost sightings actually predate um the building being a part of the campus. Like, it wasn't like they built this building and then it became a campus house and then it started being haunted. The ghost happened before it became associated with the campus, before it became a house there. Because the building was built in 1751, specifically by the Hunt family, um, and it has a secret staircase. Which, by the way, as a person, I that is my dream to have a secret tunnel or a secret staircase or secret room in my house, because that would be dope, right? Right?
it would, yeah.
Like,
Little bookcase.
I need that to be exactly a little bookcase. You like move one of the things and suddenly it opens into a. I want that in my life. Hashtag life goals. But so apparently there was a secret staircase, according to legend, where Lucy would meet up with her lover, who is General Burgoyne. I'm so sorry if I said his name wrong. Secret tunnel. That's right, babe. Secret tunnel. Um,
Through the mountain.
through the mountain. Forget the words, but no. So apparently they were ultimately driven apart. Um, and it was in the 1880s, it was believed that the ghost of her boyfriend haunted the staircase. So she haunts the main house and he haunts the staircase. Um, the Sessions house became a part of the college housing in the 20th century. Um, some of the former residents of the house have claimed to see Lucy's ghost kind of traversing in the area of the staircase. So that's sad, you know? Like,
That's sad.
they had a cute little, they were in love or whatever, and in death as ghosts, they are in the same area, but they can't ever hook up. But yeah, that's all I got on Smith College. That was the one that stood out. Again, Massachusetts is definitely a hot spot for ghosts and paranormal stuff. But that specifically, I thought was a sweet little thing I wanted to throw out there. Do you have more Ohio U stuff? I know I keep asking that, but like it
Oh,
sounds like
yeah.
you got like you really like went into like a Pepe Sylvia kind of moment and were like, I need to know everything. and now I need to I need to know everything.
I have lots more. So this one reminds me a bit of the story of Johnson of the kids bouncy ball in the stairwells.
Mhm.
Apparently, Ohio University has a similar thing in Bush Hall. It is said at times at Bush Hall and in Washington Hall, you can sometimes hear the sound of marbles dropping from the top of a staircase and like falling down the stairwell, uh, as well as hearing footsteps in giggles. Um, and on the top floor, as or no, at the base of the stairwell, you can sometimes see the water fountains turning on and off on their own and doors opening to the main lobby. So that's kind of interesting. I didn't find much more than that. I really wanted to learn more about like who is this supposed to be? Like, is there children here? Like, what is this? But that's all I
Ghost
could really find.
ghost children are weird and
Speaking of
incredibly unsettling.
speaking of children, Brown House was donated to Ohio University by a longtime resident, Millie Brown. She would sit in her window and watch the children outside playing. Uh, she spent much of her time by the window just watching life go on outside of it. And now she still sits out that window and watches the college. Um, she watches passerby see her reflection in the window. And the very strange thing is, not only can you sometimes hear her footsteps or older woman's voice, you can also hear her pool as well, even though the pool is no longer there.
So you hear the water from the pool and
Yeah, like the
there's no
filtration
water.
system of the pool. And there's no pool, hasn't been a pool in that area for a very long time.
Huh.
But she still sits by her little window and watches everything unfold.
Ghosts
I just
being
picture a nice
creeps.
old lady just sitting by her window.
So you're
Um,
picturing this very nice old lady. I'm just like, these ghosts are fucking creeps, dude. Like, it's just like I'm staring. Like, what are you doing? Get off my lawn. No. I'm sure she was a very nice lady. Maybe she still is. Who knows?
so I have a few different directions I can go right now. Um, let's see, which one do I want to do?
Well, I did find some information about uh it looks like I think the University of Tennessee, Blountville. Different little rumors
Oh,
that they you know me, I love rumors.
rumor has
So
it.
one of the things about the University of Tennessee, like outside of ghosts and whatnot, that I have always loved ever since I heard about this in high school. So the University of Tennessee does a thing called the Body Farm, where people who donate their bodies to the body farm, their bodies are like put up into different situations. So those different students can actually observe and obtain scientific data on how bodies decompose in different situations, like the different insect interactions, how weather impacts decomposition, stuff like that, that, criminalists and forensic experts build that information as a part of, like, that information is disseminated to different colleges, different universities around the world, because they're getting this. Hey, Keenan. Yeah, I love the background too. Jotun drew it up for us. Isn't it beautiful? um it's the body farm. So they do this whole thing where, like, they have, like, bodies in a tree, bodies in a trunk, bodies half buried, just like, just imagine, like, just I always think of, like, crash head dummies, just, like, in random positions throughout, but, like, oh, they're people. They're people. But these people donate their bodies to science for this specific purpose, and it helps solve crime. They're not growing bodies there, no. Um, it's a whole section on the University of Tennessee's. It's no GMO. It's not not genetically modified bodies. But it's super like that's always one thing that super interests me. Back in the day, many, many, many moons ago, when I was in high school, at one point I wanted to become um a forensic investigator. Like I wanted to get in on that. And I wanted to go to the University of Tennessee specifically to study that information up front because that's not a thing every university does. It's super cool. But from like a paranormal perspective, there's like on any given day, there's like 1,200 just random people's bodies. The bodies of people. So you have to think like, do the ghosts kind of go with their bodies? Um, but that is one thing I do want to just like point out. But there's a bunch of different like spooky rumors in the area. There's also a skeleton collection because the body farm is there, so skeletons as well. But there's also there's a wide variety of different ghost stories and little spooky urban legend tales going in this area because Tennessee is right there. It's like this. There's like Civil War ghosts to all the way to like pets, like a pet ghost, like ghost cat, ghost dog. Because there's like 220 some odd years where you can have different stuff pop up on this campus. Um, there is one that's a cat that brings. So it's a cat ghost, but it's also like it depends on who tells the story. Some people say it's a dog with coal eyes, and some refer to it as a cat with glowing eyes. But its shrieking howl is supposed to forewarn as an omen of death, which is
Fantastic.
just exactly the kind of pet you go to adopt a pet, and they're like, "And here's Fluffy," and it's like got like huge fangs and claws and just like scary like blood drool, and you're like, "I love him. He's beautiful. I would die for him." um, there's also uh, a specter who's an elegant gentleman who just looks like a normal ghost until he tips his hat to you, and at that point you get to see the giant hole in his head.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Now the
There's
cat. Sorry to
no worries.
interrupt you, but the cat reminds me of a story of a living cat. I can't remember where it is, but it resides or resided because the story's pretty old at a nursing home. And there was actually like a news segment or something on it. It was in a newspaper or something somewhere, um, where this cat lived at this nursing home, and if it took a liking to you for a period of days, they would like I can't remember if it was like a day or two after the cat would like be
Oh yeah,
consistently with a
cancer cat.
person, the elderly person it was with would be dead
Yes.
every time.
Well,
So it's
animals
like
are super attuned to things
it's
that
like they
we
love the
can't
cat, but
perceive.
at the same time, they started not liking the cat.
They're like, all right, let's get out of here. Like, I
Go
want another
away! It's
10
not my
years.
time.
I want another 10 years. You're so cute though. Damn it. Well, with the cat, some people are, referring it to like the Cherokee Wampus cat, which is a cryptid.
Ah,
I'm actually planning on going into detail on that on a future episode. So I won't go into super detail there. Was it a black cat by any chance? I love black cats. Here's the thing, it makes me so sad because there's such a crazy. I hate to go on a tangent. There's such a
No
crazy
worries.
stigma about black cats being bad luck. Which like is crazy because growing up, I was always taught that black cats are good luck. Like if you have a black cat, it will keep bad things from you. Because it doesn't play that shit. But there's so many people like you hear about it. And especially around like Friday the 13th or around Halloween, where people just straight up hurt black cats because they're afraid of being bad luck or whatever. And to this I say, internet, someone could definitely clip this and throw this everywhere. I don't even care. If you hurt a black cat because you're afraid of bad luck, you are creating that shit for yourself and you deserve all the bad things that happen to you. The end. Don't hurt animals. Don't do that. Don't be a dick. Um, but no, there's University of Tennessee, there's all sorts of crazy stuff. Like there's again a lot of history that they can pull from, especially just in the area. They've got someone in the library who died while working on their dissertation.
Oh
Um
no.
so she's still haunting the library being like eating cornbread, trying to get this dissertation done. So people can still smell the smell of cornbread, like freshly baked cornbread because she's
It was her
working.
life's work and her
Sh
afterlife's work.
Yes, she's trying so hard and it'll never get published. She's never going to get a doctorate now. That
Never gonna be
sucks.
recognized.
Someone should just give her an honorary one and see if that helps her pass. Then there was also the Humanities and Social Sciences building. There's a ghost that lives on the third floor and roof. Um, that comes out specifically to scare kids during the fall semester. It makes a humming noise, and it just makes a humming noise that spooks people. It's literally its only thing.
Huh.
And there's a lot of different other ones here that there's literally like so many different ones to go into, but because of the sheer volume, I definitely want to dedicate some time to doing more research. Um, but there's
Maybe
definitely
we could focus on that in a future episode
maybe, you
together.
know what? That sounds like an amazing idea, and I'm gonna hold both of us to that. But there's definitely a lot of stuff, especially like with the Civil War ghosts or whatever. Just just a lot of different things that you can go into. Or like the random pets. Like there was one instance where like a building was donated to the college by like the daughter or granddaughter of what's his name? Ulysses S. Grant or something like that. And it was specific in the like notation, like you can keep this house for your college, whatever. But I need you to keep up the grave of my pet that's buried here. Like, do not disturb it, leave it how it is. And you can keep the building for your college. Like, that's wholesome.
The
But
big
that's,
old do not disturb sign.
yeah, for right now, that's all we have for the University of Tennessee. But I know you have more about Ohio State, and I would love to hear
Oh
more.
yes. So your corpse farm of sorts made me think that this might be the next best thing, because it helped them solve mysterious cases and whatnot. So back, way back in 1925, end of January, flu season, good old flu season, nice short days of sunlight, long dark days. Um, the Derby Hall in Ohio University once had a pharmacy. And during this flu season, uh, Charles Holes stopped by this pharmacy before returning to Phi Gamma Delta fraternity house. And he picked up some medicine, called, I'm probably not going to say this right, but quinine, which at the time was a common fever reducer. Hours later, however, he became deeply ill,
Oh no.
uh, was suffering violent convulsions until he died. The following morning, a student named David Puskin took a pill for his cold and was dead 20 minutes later.
Oh
Now,
no.
the police and the university at first blamed tetanus and a viral meningitis for the deaths until more students started becoming violently ill, one of whom was a football player. At that time, the athletics director pressured the dean of the College of Medicine to run tests on the pills. He's like, hey, they're all taking some sort of medicine from the pharmacy. Like, why is no one doing this? And twisted the dean's arm, and he's like, okay, if we'll make leave me alone, we'll do it. So they tested the pills, and they found out that it was pure strychnine, which is a deadly neurotoxin that produces some of the most painful and traumatic reactions of any known toxin. So,
What?
yeah, someone messed up big time. Now, the president at the time, President Thompson, believed that there was no way that was an accident. So either someone working there wanted to target someone specific or just wanted to target anybody. It is soon after this incident that Derby Hall closed the pharmacy for good.
I mean, that's how
And
you do it, though. I mean, if you were trying to target someone specifically, but you didn't want anyone to draw it back to you as a serious, like, I created this maliciously, you would widespread try to, like, get as many people on it as possible. So that way no one could tell the target who the target was, and they couldn't link the motive back to you. Not that I've
yep.
ever thought about doing bad things, but, like,
If
if
you
I
were to do
did.
bad things, that would be the way to do it.
Also, I think it's super fucked up that, like, all these people were dying, and it wasn't until the football coach was like, "Hey, wait a minute. We're gonna lose Friday's game because of this. I need
You
you
just
to
took out my star
investigate.
athlete.
They took out my star athlete. I need you to investigate this immediately." And they're like, of course. Nonsense. Oh my god.
And kind of tying back to the cat story in a way of having the cat buried there and leaving it alone. Uh, there's a story about it's called The Body in Bricker. So there was a man named Herb Atkinson who graduated from Ohio State in 1913. Served as a trustee for 23 years until he passed away in 1952. Following his death, his wife saw to it that his will, though very unusual, was put into play. Uh, Unusual because it said that he wanted his remains to be buried somewhere on Ohio State's campus. I mean, there's plenty of bodies there now, so what's one more?
There's 5 cemeteries. What's one more body?
uh, in recognition of almost a quarter of a century of service to the university, his ashes were interned into Bricker Hall. So they reside behind a nondescript plaque on the wall, near the boardroom where he spent many times. There's also the hall that there were many get-togethers with faculty and meetings and just general like social calls and stuff there, where he attended nearly every one and was often found, drinking the punch and going along and visiting with his colleagues and whoever else was there. Um, Nowadays, there are reports of lights flickering on and off, and some have even seen a ghostly figure sipping at a cup of like you would classic drinking punch. You fill up your plastic cup.
Yeah.
Um, So they believe he still resides in the halls.
I like that, but also you got to have a work-life balance, man. He's like, I am so dedicated to seeing this university succeed, but I don't trust these dudes after I die to run it. So I'm gonna need you to put my remains directly in the boardroom so I can haunt them to make sure they do shit right. I get that. As like a person who's like crazy into the details, I get that. I hear you, Ghost Man. I hear you. That's so that's great. Just like, I'm gonna drink Kool-Aid now and chill. Y'all did the right thing. Good job. See you next quarter. Right?
Bravo, bravo.
When you first said and turned into Brick Hall, my first thought was they put his ashes into bricks to build the building? What? Like that was the
See, that's
first
what I thought when I read the heading, and I was like, I have to read this now.
like I mean you hear
What?
about people mixing like satin spar in with paint to have it shimmer but also to protect their house and I'm like that's a really cool way to have respiratory issues in the future but like sure you do you. Like,
Do what you gotta do.
what you gotta do. Oh man.
So my next thing is a little more story-like. Um, April 11th, 1993. So one of the more relatively recent actual stories I could find with more details. A student by the name of Laura was sitting on her window on the fourth floor of her dorm in Crawford Hall.
Okay.
She often reported feelings of hands on her, being pulled or pushed in certain directions. Well, while sitting on her window on the fourth floor, she lost her balance and fell to her
Oh
death.
shit.
The following year, so in 1994, residents began experiencing problems. Lights would turn on and off by themselves, items would disappear and reappear several days later, and things began to escalate. One of the residents one night laid down to take a nap, and it was early spring, and the soft light from outside, didn't light up the room very well, so it was a good place to kind of just lay down and take a nap. Uh, he knew that his roommate would be returning. The resident left the door cracked open and turned off the lights. He drifted off to sleep, but after a while he was awakened by the door opening and the light from the hall poured into the room. A female stood in the doorway, silhouetted by the lights. She entered the room and calmly sat next to the resident on the bed. She spoke, saying, "Sorry I've awoken you." The resident tried to assure her that it was okay, but she wasn't listening to him, almost as if she wasn't aware of him. She then got up, left the room, and closed the door behind her. Being confused, the resident wasn't sure he was sure he knew everyone there, but he didn't recognize the girl. Uh, so not sure if he had dreamed up the whole thing or not. He went to talk with his RA and was like, "Hey, just had this really weird experience. Um, Never seen this lady before. She came in, was talking to me, but wasn't listening." And as weird as it was, he reported that he felt completely calm, not freaked out at all. So he started describing his visitor to the RA and the clothing she was wearing, and he could tell the RA was becoming stressed and alarmed. Um, Turns out that Laura had landed right outside the room that he was in the year before with her fault.
Oh shit.
And she had been wearing those items that he described.
Oh dude.
And having been the RA the year before, the RA knew very well the details of what had occurred
What
there.
happened? Oh my god.
So I promised your chat when you told them if they come for cult things.
Yes,
So
we're here for the cult stuff. Yes.
I have some cult stories now
Yes, 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 yes.
that will lead into my bigger story that I promised to come back to when we started today.
Yes.
So the first thing is this takes place in the 1970s in Shively Hall. There was a student there said to be participating in cult ceremonies at Hanning Cemetery. Now, Hanning is one of the 5 cemeteries near Ohio University. Um, kind of consumed her for a bit. She stopped. She stopped going. She was trying to focus on her studies, trying to do what she was supposed to be doing. However, there was many times she was out with friends that she experienced some really strange things with her rooms or in her dorm room with her friends. Um, Oftentimes, she would start just kind of wandering to the northeast of campus, whether they're out for a walk or in her dorm room. She would kind of just drift out and start heading that way. Well, it turns out that Hanning Cemetery is to the northeast of the campus. Um, and at the time, people knew the reputation the cemetery had. And turns out, well, legends say, that during one of her ceremonies there, um, she actually got in contact with a David Tishman who had once been a student at the university.
What a name.
And he was killed in a car accident earlier that year, 1970.
Oh,
Um, and she could hear a male's voice calling her back. So some say it was David Tishman calling her back to the cemetery to continue what they had started. And that's all I could find. I was like, how did that turn
so
out? What
so
happened to her?
she was into cult stuff and then was like, you know, that was like fall semester me, new me, spring semester me, focusing hard on my studies, and the cult stuff was like, hey girl, you know what you should do? Disassociate and walk on back to the cemetery. We have cookies.
You can quit the cult, but the cult won't quit you.
That's it. That's it. You're not about this gang life. You don't know. Oh,
So I hinted at Wilson Hall story at the start of
yes.
this, with it being the center of all these cemeteries. Um, so the story I found most frequently while doing my research was that of one that took place in 1960, or the building was built in 1965. Not sure when this story particularly happens, but the building itself is relatively newish. Not as old as many of the other buildings, but this story comes up a lot. So I started looking at all the different versions of it, and a lot of solid, relatively the same information was given. So
Okay.
first thing to bring up is shortly after the hall was built, a male student lived there, and he mysteriously died in his room. I
Mm,
couldn't find much else than that, but a few years after his death, a female student moved into the same room. And this is room number 428. And she is
so
said
close.
to have
Sorry.
yes, so very close.
So
She is
close.
she is said to have been into satanic rituals
Oh,
and would even commune with the dead in that room.
never
One
shit
of
where
the
you eat. Come on.
Yeah, right. One of the souls she is said to have communicated with was that of the young man who had died a few years before. Eventually, the rituals and communes with the dead ate away at her social life, and her grades began to suffer. People would report hearing strange voices in the night, and at times when she wasn't even in the room. They would also hear her having conversations, and hearing some would even hear like deep voice replies.
Oh
Um,
shit.
yeah, uh, they would also see shadow figures moving around, and hear footsteps randomly in the room. Sometimes even like crashing and banging and thudding. Um, Eventually, this female student took her own life.
Oh no.
Uh, Students continued living in this room years to come, and the reports and incidents just kept rolling in. So many of the people who lived in this room um, would quickly transfer out of the room because of just the
Bad
general
vibes.
aura. Um, some people wouldn't even go in the room when arriving on campus because they just felt this great sense of dread and fear. Uh, and those who didn't transfer out or stick with it, many often also left the university after staying in this room. But
That's scary.
much like they were doing with the whole cold medicine thing, they're just like, it's fine. It's just people being, you know,
They're just
weird.
strategically not putting football players in there. Like, not again. Can't
So
risk it,
even after
guys.
the rituals, people often heard disembodied voices in the room, footsteps going in and out of the room. One set of footsteps that a lot of people would hear was pacing the room, would bang on the door as if trapped in the room.
Oh,
Uh,
that's not good.
yeah, they'd hear heavy breathing, whispering, and at times animalistic growling. So
Did
some
she have a
say something
pet?
went no,
Oh.
no. Some say something went wrong with one of her rituals the night that she took her life, and that things still linger in there with her and the other lost soul. Uh, Other reports include hearing a malicious voice telling people to get out or to come in and die.
Oh.
Uh,
Awfully nice of them to
y-
put it up front though and be like, just so you know, if you come in here, I'm about to wreck you.
Now, this was rather interesting. Uh, People also report seeing glimpses of demonic like faces in not only mirrored surfaces, but also in the grainwork of the furniture, just appearing and disappearing. Um, People would get locked inside the room as if someone big was holding the door shut. There's also been a lot of reports of heavy poltergeist activity, things flying across the room, through the window, uh, and unseen hands like grabbing hold and poking and prodding at people while in the room. So this is a lot of bad energy. Eventually, uh, people take action, but there's also, on top of everything else, there would be angry scratches on the inside of the door, where they also often hear the banging as if something was trying to get out. Um, there were visual scratches in the door, and the university was like, "Oh, it's just kids pulling pranks. Let's just paint over the door." Or, "Oh, we need to replace the door. We're just gonna do that. It's okay. They're just pulling
So
pranks on this
all these
same
people's
door."
deposits All of these people's dorm deposits are just being eaten up. So it's a scam. The ghost's in
Yeah,
on it. Like
they're picking this one door every time to do these shenanigans on was the
this
university's
reminds me, did I ever
outlook.
tell you about um the sketch ass poltergeist in Governors?
No.
So I don't know if you ever met her. I'm gonna call her, for lack of a better name, it's not her real name. We're gonna call her Amanda. Um, so I went to high school with Amanda. We both got into the same college, very exciting. And she lived on my floor. And one day she was like, "Yo, I need you to check out my room. There's like fuckery going on here." She's like, "Bunny, I need you to look at this." And I'm like, "All right, bet. Like, I guess I'll figure out what's going on." And I walk into her room and she's telling me about all the crazy shit. She's like, "Things are moving. I hear a voice. Things are crazy. There's definitely something going on here. There is a ghost. There is something happening." And she also was a heavy drinker. So, gonna just throw that out there. So, the way her bedroom is set, the door is like 9 or 10 feet, like the jam, from the far end to the left. So, like, you walk in, if you were to turn directly to your left 10 feet, you would see the wall. She had her bed along that wall, so the feeties were at the door. And to the right side of her bed was that like length mirror they have with those like things over the light bulbs, like because they had the two light bulbs on the side. And there's like this casing stuff that's screwed in over the light bulbs so it has like a weird glow, like it's an ambient glow. Um, and these things are bolted like in any other, and I'm sure you've seen them in any room. Like you would have to unscrew it or hardcore rip that son bitch off to get it to come off. Even with unscrewing it, you have to use a tremendous amount of force to get that casing off of where the light bulb is. It's like the bane of maintenance existence. So, cut back to me walking in her room. She's telling me, she's like, "Bunny, there's crazy stuff. There is a ghost in here. I am hearing scary voices at night. Things get moved. Things are crazy. I am scared. There is a ghost here." So I walk in, I'm standing in the doorway, and I'm like, "Listen, Amanda, I understand that you're hearing stuff and you're crazy. Like, crazy shit's happening. You're not crazy, but like, also, when is this stuff happening? Are you drunk when it's happening? Because maybe you're misinterpreting what's happening because you're wasted." Which is a reasonable, like, state of mind is definitely something you should always keep in mind when hearing people talk about paranormal stuff. Because it's like, if you're already emotionally charged, anything's gonna seem like an attack.
Hmm.
Or if you're like under the influence, like you may be misinterpreting what's actually happening. If you're going through like a mental crisis, you may also be misinterpreting what's happening. So I'm saying this to her, and she goes, "It's really happening." And I'm like, "Okay, well, do you have any proof?" The second I said this shit, the case to the light covering by the edge of the bed along the wall that is 10 feet away rips off the wall and like literally just throws across the room and lands at my feet. And I'm just like, "Cool." So I have a voice recorder that I use for my notes. I went in and I did little EVP recordings. And I was a brand new tape. There shouldn't have been issues. I had used this voice recorder for like a year, the full year. Like it had never had any issues. It was brand new when I got it. So we sit down, we record the thing, and I asked some questions, and a lot of them was nothing, like no response. And then when I asked, "Why are you here?" This is the weirdest thing. You're gonna laugh when I say this. It was like the deepest, guttural, "I'm here to party." I'm dead serious. not making this shit up. It said that. It was like the deepest, scariest fucking voice. And if I hadn't been in the room, like if I had listened to this as a third party who was not in the room, I would be like, this is clearly someone's fucking with you. I was there though. No one said that out loud. So I went to show the recording to my friend later on, and I was like, you need to check this out. And we get to that point, and my little recorder jammed. The tape inside the recorder melted, and I had to buy a whole new recorder.
Wow.
It's
Now,
crazy.
did you go to her room to show her?
Like, did I show the person in the room? Yeah.
So you went back to her room to show her the recording.
I went back. Yeah. I was like, listen to this.
Hmm. Sounds like you didn't want anyone to listen to
It
it.
was like, I don't need people to know I'm here to party. But like, it was like the most like, are you fucking with me? No. Like, and it wasn't like there's something bleeding over from the tape because again, it was a brand new tape.
Yeah. Crazy.
Spooky tape, absolutely.
Spooky tape.
I loved that recorder though. But yeah, that was my little story. I didn't mean to interrupt your story, but I was like, I
No,
need to get this off my chest now
no
before I forget.
worries. The only thing left I had on that story is that room where all that crazy stuff happened eventually got sealed off. No one's allowed to live in it.
Good.
However, the noises still disturb the rooms next to it, uh, and they still have reports on a pretty regular basis with the noises and things coming from that room. But speaking of feelings of dread and what have you, um, something I experienced at Johnson, both during the school year and because my summer job was there.
Yeah, you were always there.
Um,
I
yes,
can't
I
say anything because
was.
I was also always there. Like,
Um, I was always there. I was there every summer until COVID happened. I still worked that summer job. Crazy, a very long time. Uh, but I remember being in Senators. Now I tie this back into the story of your friend saying they're going to do the Ouija board.
hold up, hold up,
Um,
hold up. Was this Send South basement floor all the way to the back?
it's all the way to the back, but I wasn't on that floor. I was on a different floor in
Oh
that
shit.
building,
Okay,
same
continue.
side. Um, but yes, I had been down on that floor a few times. I have another story about that, but I would often stay there when the students went home over the summer. So this happened during the summer job quite a
Yeah,
few times. Um, and I'd stay there on the weekend because why not?
yeah.
And rest of the staff would go home. So I was often in the building by myself. Fun times. Um, and I'd have to go down to the basement floor to do my laundry.
Yep.
So forgot about it one day. Had stuff in the washer. It was about 9-10 p.m. I was like, oh shoot, I gotta go put that stuff in the dryer. And I went down the stairs, down the stairs, down the stairs, down the stairs. Get down to the basement, and I just get this really bad feeling. I was like, as soon as I'm coming to the stairs, and I'm standing there in the stairwell, looking in the hallway. I'm like, I really don't want to go in that hallway right now. I don't know why, but I really don't want to go in that hallway right now. And I don't want to turn my back on this hallway right now.
So you just
So,
stood there.
no, I slowly backed up the stairs. And when I got to the first floor, I went in the hall, walked backwards down the hallways, and then I just left. Left the whole building.
just fucking no.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna stay out for a little bit. I'm gonna come back in once I've calmed myself down. Like, I don't know why. Like, as soon as I get down there, I was like, do not take a step further. Do not go in that hallway to do your laundry right now. And I was like,
That's real shit. And Zombie brings a valid point in chat. Um, When you get that feeling, don't question it, just act on it. Nope out. Abandon your friends.
So I return that night, go all the way to the top floor through the other stairwell on the other side, and I get up by my room, which is on the same side. So I was on the stairwell straight down to the laundry room. Okay.
Okay.
I start approaching my room and that feeling coming back. And I was like, am I just messing with my head? Because I know the stairwell's there. Like, I don't like this feeling at all. And I just stood out there in the hall for a minute. I was just looking down the hallway, and I see the stairwell door move.
Mm-mm. Cause that's those are concrete stairs.
Yeah. And I was like, nope, not staying here. And I walked out the building again. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Everyone's gone. Like, what am I supposed to do here? Um, so I ended up wandering around campus for a few hours, returned again, made it up to my dorm room in the hallway. I'm looking, the door's closed to the stairwell. Don't have any bad feelings. I rushed to my dorm room, carted open, and closed the door. Still no weird feelings. I'm like, okay, it's fine. And the rest of the night, I didn't have any issues. But I would still, on occasion, I would still get that feeling of dread in that dorm on occasion. But that was probably like the worst night of it. But like randomly throughout my time there, because we'd always stay in the same dorm.
Yeah.
It could be really early morning. Sometimes that feeling would overcome me and be like, nope, I'm done with doing whatever I'm doing right now. Um,
Wait a minute,
but
did you have this freshman year?
uh,
Did this kind of dread overcome you during freshman year?
a couple times, yeah.
Is that why you're always so willing, like, hey man, it's 2 a.m. I need to go smoke a cigarette and talk shit. And you're like, absolutely, I will be right there.
All between that and you remember my roommates my freshman year.
Yeah, I do. They were
Bad times all
they
around.
were interesting folks.
But yeah, and I remember one time I was down in the basement or the subfloor with a couple of staff, and we're just chilling. And it was actually Ada was one of them. Uh, we're just chilling down in there, and just having a good time. And from the laundry room, we hear this crashing noise,
Nope. That's a
and
no
I
thank
look at
you.
them and like, what was that? Was that the dryer being weird? It's like, no.
You're like, I
Um,
actually don't care and I don't register that. Nope.
and I said, and I'm not the one going to check it out. I said, I'm actually pretty hungry. I'm gonna go get some food. And so we all just went and got some food. And no one was the wiser.
That's correct. Don't be that person exploring that haunted house location. That's right. Use your street smarts. That's exactly how you handle that.
It's like no one needs to know. I know what's
Down
going on
down
here.
here in the Appalachia, um, I have heard many times from my friends in the area where they say, if you hear something in the woods, no, you didn't. Like, just like keep it moving. And I'm like, hey, I get that because I am also like, I'm never gonna be that one that's like, hello, is anyone here? Shh, 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 shh. I'm gonna go exploring and see what's happening. Or like in horror movies where they're like, I'm scared. I'm gonna run upstairs. Fuck that. I will bust out, my fat ass will bust out a window. I will escape. And you don't have to be faster than the killer, guys. You have to be faster than your slowest friend,
Yep.
which is awful, but like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've told chat or at some point I think it's come up with like where the people jump out at you during the little walkthroughs. And I had a chainsaw guy on one of the expeditions through one of these scary haunted trails, and he came up, and I'm terrified of chainsaw dudes. And my friend, I was me, her, her little sister and her little sister's friend, and then the dude who drove us there. And the chainsaw guy was coming. My friend dipped out, like she did some ninja shit, got away. So here I am with these two children who are like 11. And this dude I literally met like 3 hours ago. I pushed him down, grabbed the girls, and split. So at the end of the haunted trail, they do little photos or whatever. So he comes up to me and he goes, Bunny, why did you throw me down? And I was like, I don't know you like that. Like, I can figure out driving a stick. But it was not me. I was not the one. Like, that's terrible, but also completely on brand. And I'm sure you're not even surprised by that.
Nope.
You're like, that makes sense. You can outrun a beat, but you can't. Hold on. You can outrun a beat, but you can't outrun someone else. Oh, outrun. I'm reading bad because I'm dumb. You, you can outrun a bear, but you can't outrun someone else. That's right. You can't outrun a like everybody. Here's the thing. Everyone's like, I can outrun a bear. It's like, no, you can't. Bears can go like 60 miles an hour.
They're super
Like, it's
fast.
not very
You would not think it
far.
with their size, but
They can't get very far that way, like, because people are endurance hunters. Like, you go back far enough, like that's how we hunted. We just like kept going, and the animals we were hunting were like, actually, I have to tap out because I'm tired. Um, so we don't go super fast, but we have like crazy endurance. Like as a species, humanity is like that. Bears do not believe in that. They're like, I am huge and I am super fast and I will murder you right now. Like you can be fast. I don't know, but yeah, senators definitely because that room that I'm thinking of is on the south side. It's on the very basement floor, sort of near where the washer and dryer is. It used to be a room, like a people used to like room there, but apparently, and it wasn't specific like one specific person. Like that room always had some fuckery going on, like some bad energy. It was just a bad vibe, and there wasn't a window letting in natural light in that room. It was one of the only rooms on the subfloor that didn't have a
it's
window.
really weird.
Super weird, right?
Yeah.
Um, so all this is going on. It's just like always been a negative place, and it got to the point where so many people either dropped out from being in that room, or would just check out. If you catch my drift, like
Mhm.
it was enough of a problem that when they redid all the locks and everything for the dorms, they permanently shut that room off and it became just like a storage room. And I know this because public safety let me in there because I'm like, I want to know what's in here. And they were like, we're not going in there. And I'm like, no, I want to know. And they're like, please, Bonnie, please. I'm like, I have to know. I need answers. Like, public safety man James, please open this door. And I walked in and it was literally like the light bulb. There was no light bulb in it. It was storage, quote unquote. But like, it literally was just empty shelves
Stored air.
and empty bed stuff. Like nothing. There wasn't even a light bulb in. So they literally just like sealed this shit off and were like, we're not going back in here. Because there was nothing actually stored in there.
This doesn't exist. As a figment of your imagination. That's not a door.
And I had that one friend who's like, before I was like, I need to know what's in here. She was like, I want to get a Ouija board. I bought one, this really cool glow in the dark one from Walmart. And I was like, firstly, don't do that. Secondly, if you're going to do that, don't be out in the hall. Because, like, what if you do something stupid and something comes through or whatever? You know? Then it's
Yeah.
not just that room, it's the whole hallway, which is connected to the whole building. There's nothing stopping whatever may potentially come through from just like being everywhere. Whereas in the room, you're more likely for it to just stay in that room. And that room's already got fucked energy going anyways, right? Right?
Keep it all in there.
Just keep it contained. But
Speaking of bad Ouija board experiences, um,
I'm here
when
for
I
it.
was younger, like third-ish grade, I think, my
Okay.
cousin convinced me it was a good idea to play with a Ouija board.
Oh my god. In third grade?
Mm-hmm. On the top floor of my grandparents' house,
Is it
in the
wrong? I'm
main hallway
imagining
by the
third grade
bedrooms.
you with like the same size adult head with like big foppish hair, but like a child body, and you're just like, yeah, sure. Like you with a little like beard and everything, just like third grade shadow. Sorry. I'm sorry. That's the image I'm keeping. Continue.
So we went up there, and we immediately got contact with something. Um,
Immediately?
yeah, like we put the thing down. We're like, "Is someone here?" It was like, boom, boom, boom. Um, weird thing was, it put the initials. No, not many people know this, but I would have an older sibling, but I do not.
Okay.
Um, they didn't make it very long.
Okay.
Uh, put the initials of that sibling on the board, which should have been my first sign of nope, we're done. Something's clearly messing with us here. Uh, but no, we continued. And at one point, both of our hands fell off the little marker thing, and it was still moving on the board.
The planchette.
Yeah. And it's at that point, I was like, I've had enough. And we left without saying goodbye,
Oh no.
which later years I learned was a big, bad no no.
That's a no-no. It even
Um,
says it in the instructions.
instructions. They just brought the board over. They didn't have a box. But, and then for years afterward, I always had bad energy when I went up there for the longest time. Whenever I went up there, I actually started avoiding going up there because there's just bad energy. I didn't like it. Um, and a few years ago, my grandfather passed away,
I'm sorry.
and I recently went back up there since he's passed away, and that energy is no longer there, which is really weird for me. Like the timeline of it, I was like, did it happen before? Like, did the energy go away before? Is it gone now? Because he passed away in that house.
I like to think my head canon is that your grandfather passed, and before leaving, he was like, "You better get the hell out of my house," and then whooped its ass. That's how I. That's the head
Slammed the door
canon.
behind it.
Like, and stay out. That's what I like to believe.
So yeah, because it was saying some pretty not nice things, and I was like, I've had enough of this,
To
and
a
I just
third
left.
to a third grader, rude.
Random tangents.
No, that's spooky. Ooh. I've never personally played with a Ouija board because my mother always told me, "Don't be stupid."
See,
So
I didn't even know what it was at the time. You
it's
want to do
I
this? Sure.
what could what could go wrong? Nothing bad ever happens to the Kennedys. Like no. I mean I've heard so many like real first people accounts of like messing with a Ouija board and like what they think happened. Like the whole thought of like using the planchette together, you're lightly touching it and a spirit moves it around or whatever. And like I've heard stories of people who were so scared that they didn't say goodbye or that they decided their best course of action was to burn the board. Um,
No.
which to me, I just again, I've never had any personal experience with it because I was always like growing up, I was taught to like you respect spirits. Don't fuck around because you will absolutely find out. Like and just be respectful. So I've just yeah, anytime like in like high school and college when people were like, "Let's play with a Ouija board." I'm like, "No. I actually am not supposed to be part of any of this. My mother will find you. She will know. She will judge you accordingly." She's like, "Shadow, Shadow's a sweet boy. What a handsome boy." Uh, but yeah, that's spooky.
Yeah,
I
I was like, we're talking about Ouija boards. That reminds me.
I didn't know that story about you, and that's definitely that shit. That's a little creepy. It's a little creepy. Well, I don't have any more spooky university material prepared.
Neither do I.
Perfect. Then we hit the best part is where now we're gonna do a little transitiony. Um, First, any last thoughts on any of the spooky stuff we covered today?
I think that was a nice energy we had. Nice little flow we had going.
Yeah,
Learned a lot. Got some
I
good
learned a
personal
lot.
stories in there too. So I can't wait until I find another university to come on and talk about.
Absolutely. I again super appreciate that you took time out of your schedule to hang out with us today and to drop all that knowledge about Ohio University and just personal experience stuff. I whew, that was a lot. That was crazy. That was spooky. I do have one question before we transition to the hype moment. Do you believe in
Okay.
ghosts?
I do strongly believe in ghosts.
I feel like I knew that answer. Um and I'm super glad that we were able to have this, transcend that disbelief and have some of these stories to kind of pick through with that knowledge in mind. This has definitely been a spooky Saturday for sure. Um, I know that you do a lot of stuff. You're a pretty good content creator. You have a lot of stuff going on in your Twitch channel. You've got your YouTube channel stuff going on. We've got the of Dice and Kin, which is I believe I sent the correct. I feel like I just put the right thing in there. I did. Look at me go. So I've just dropped a link in the chat for people to check out Lord Shadow's D&D campaign on YouTube. He also does it on Twitch. I believe it's like every other Wednesday. Did I make that up?
Correct. Every other Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Fantastic. And of course, we do the Gloom Crew thing. We're both a part of the collective Shadow Guild community, which is that community of content creators um, who do different things. On my Twitch channel, if you guys look at the links, it's the top link. Um, we've got links to different content creators through Shadow Guild who do different stuff YouTube, TikTok, uh, some people who actually create products and art, which is super cool. I love people who can do art because I cannot. It's very exciting. So outside of the of Dice and Kin campaign, is there anything super exciting that you want us to keep an eye on in the future?
Um, let's see. We got the Dicekin. We got the Gloom Crew. Getting episodes out every week for that as well. Trying to think of any major projects we got going on. Nothing crazy coming up right away, but this summer we'll be returning to our Summer of Steel, doing the last two games in the Trails of Cold Steel series, where I will be doing all of the voice acting for it for all the characters, as I usually do during our summer games or any game that we play that doesn't have voice actors in it. Um, Also, I just thought of this. I don't have a lot of details I can reveal right now, but some of you know that I mod for the Eowyn Chronicle Discord and help out a lot with that in other ways as well. Um, If you haven't heard of Aoden Chronicle, it's a game that's coming out next year, but there's a side game that's coming out here soon. I can update folks with a date later, but the latest play video has been released, and this other company has come up with a side game that will actually have progress transferred over to the main game when it releases next year.
Oh, so
So
it's like a teaser game.
yeah, and it's an action RPG versus a JRPG. It'll be coming out soon. I can tell you soon, but it, that's been a big project. I kickstarted it back a year or two ago, and I've been a part of the process with it ever since. So as soon as it releases and becomes available, I will be doing a lot with that as well with both of those games. I will actually have early access to the main game and might have some extra stuff. So that will be a big project as well.
That's exciting. So that stuff you'd be streaming or just straight to YouTube content?
Streaming. Yeah. Yeah,
Word.
I have full permissions to do the main game early, so that'll be good once I get my hands on it.
That's actually really exciting. I like that. Oh my God. That's so what I'm hearing is that people should, to make sure they get the full experience, they should go ahead now, if they are not already doing so, they should go ahead and follow you on Twitch, on YouTube. I don't know how to spell. For a second, I was about to put large shadow. Um, no, that's just snack time. They should follow you on Twitch, on YouTube, on the Twitter for updates on this upcoming project, and also just to like check out the content you've got going on. As you're getting more and more projects out there, is what I'm hearing, right?
Most definitely. We do have a goal from the community for the 1K follows for a big giveaway. So there's that to look forward to as well. And tonight, a few hours from now, Bunny and I will be part of community night over on the Shadow Guild, playing some fabulous games. I don't know what games are being picked to play tonight
I can actually check this right now, and I can tell you. Um,
because we play
so
every Saturday at 9 p.m. So feel
yeah,
free to
every
come join
Saturday at
us.
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a really cool thing called Community Night, where we get together with people in the Shadow Guild, and we play different games. So tonight we're gonna start off with some code names. It looks like as people are starting to filter in, because it's an international community. We have people from different parts of the world, different time zones who filter in. So while we're warming up, we'll be doing some code names, and it looks like the clear winner is going to be a new game we're all testing out together. That was a recommendation from Set, um, called Unfortunate Spaceman. So it looks like we're going to be trying that out together as a group today. Pretty
I'm super
exciting.
excited.
I've got it downloaded. After this, I'm probably gonna like get warmed up and check out the situation, see what's going on with it, go through the tutorial because I would like to have some semblance of being really cool at it. Um, who knows? Maybe I'll be able to do it pretty good. Or
I may have done
maybe
the tutorials last night, kind of cool off from the long 12-hour stream.
I bet, yeah, you just did a 12-hour stream yesterday. So again, so excited that you actually had the bandwidth to come on today because I know you were super swamped yesterday with that long stream. I personally, again, super excited that you came on today. Um, Again, looking forward to future you coming on. Uh, People in the chat, people watching the VOD, if you haven't already done so, go to Lord Shadow 27 on his Twitch. He's got links there to direct you to his other wonderful content. Be sure to follow for more updates because he's very good about getting those out. Very excited. Um, so let's get to since we finished that out, everything's going good. Again, really appreciate everyone in the chat hanging out. Appreciate Shadow for chilling, hanging out today, talking about stuff. I know with all the spooky stuff we covered today, I'm gonna sleep like a baby bear tonight.
Sleep. Wonderful
Sleep.
sleep.
But since we're hanging out, I know next week, Spooky Saturdays, we'll be joined by Thrall Owen. Uh, Pretty excited about that. See what's going down. I'm going to continue to be doing some different games with the communities on Twitch because I'm trying to get affiliate. And eventually, right now, it looks like I just need to do the actual streams, but I was very close to getting the 7, but then I didn't. So that's on me.
You'll get there soon.
Yep, I'm just super cool like that. And since I do see another Shadow Guild member is streaming right now, I think we should bring a nice little raid over to Zombified Potato. What is Zombie streaming? He is streaming. He'll be starting up with some Death Road to Canada in a moment. Very excited. Again, thank you guys so much. Uh, I hope you guys have
You're
a
gonna say thank you,
wonderful.
ghosts?
Thank you, ghosts, so much for the spooky time. No, but for real, I appreciate you all wholeheartedly. Please feel free to show Zumbified Potato some love, and I hope you guys have a spooky Saturday. Bye, Internet.
Bye, everybody.